guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing with you a side-by-side comparison of Biblioplan and Story of the World. They're very similar in a lot of ways, but also very different in a lot of very important ways. So here we go. Okay guys, so this is Biblioplan Year 3 and this is Story of the World Year 3. So these are both for early modern times. Now, before we get super into this, I've not fully confirmed this, but from my understanding, Biblioplan was created to be used with Story of the World. So their volumes and the way that they go through their history cycles and things like that are very, very similar, because the older version of Biblioplan, this is actually like the 2020 version, I think. They have an even newer version than this with their family guide and things like that. But it was actually, you can use it fully in conjunction with Story of the World. So if you really, really love Story of the World, but you want to add a little bit more of a biblical perspective, you can actually still go on their website and pick up their very, very old companion that goes with Story of the World. So that's why these are so similar. That's why I think that a lot of people that have previously used Story of the World have kind of moved over to Biblioplan, because they are so very similar, and the things that you love about Story of the World you can also find in Biblioplan. So one of the key differences between Biblioplan and Story of the World, without even opening up the curriculum, is the worldview. Story of the World is going to be coming from a more secular or neutral worldview. It does talk about religion, but it doesn't really go in one direction or the other. Obviously, religion is a part of history, you know, with Catholicism and the Reformation and things like that. It is going to talk about those things. Whereas Biblioplan, obviously, it's in the name, and it is woven throughout the curriculum, as well as there's lots of Bible things that you can incorporate into this. Another key difference is the resource options. With Story of the World, you have the reader. You can honestly just use the reader, but then you also have the activity book. This is going to include your things like coloring and map work and things like that to make this go even deeper for you. And then I don't even know if I own version 3's like tests and review book, but so this is volume 2's, but they also have tests and kind of like a worksheet style book that you can get. So that's pretty much it. This is it right here. 3 things. Whereas Biblioplan has so many different things that you can add on to, and I will kind of go a little bit more in depth with that. But here we have the K through 6 technically reader. I know a lot of people actually use this more into the middle school years. But this is their main reader, whereas this is Story of the World's main reader. Then we have the family guide, which is going to give you all of your information, give you all of the different things that you can do with it. Again, I have done a full in-depth video on Biblioplan, but I'll kind of show you the differences here in a minute. But this is their craft book. Then we have our map work. Then we have our coloring book. Then we have our history questions. So there's just so many components you can get, and they're all in separate things, whereas Story of the World's kind of just all in this one book, and what you see is what you get in here. Another big difference is grade levels. So this particular book is K through 6, but Biblioplan in general, there's different resources for different grade levels, and you can actually use it from K all the way to 12th grade. And you can also get a social studies, literature, and Bible credit for high school if you do all of the things that are in the family guide. So that is the grade levels for Biblioplan, whereas Story of the World, they are designed for K through 6th grade. Some of, I think like the Ancients and then the Year 2 are designed even for up to like 4th grade. So these are more your elementary school. I would feel comfortable doing this even into middle school, especially years 3 and 4. They start to incorporate things like writing assignments and things like that. The map work gets a little bit harder. But overall, you're going to be able to mix and match with your family, more so in Biblioplan. I still think Story of the World is a good option for elementary and middle school. But if you like doing group subjects, and let's face it, if you have lots of kids, this is going to be your best bet as far as being able to do your social studies together. The other difference, the main difference for me personally, is the cost. Now, I try to buy as much curriculum as I can used, which is why I'm using a little bit of an older version of Biblioplan, and it works perfectly fine. So I have no issues with that, but I did get this set off of eBay. Also got this set off of eBay, and I will tell you, you can get these Story of the World readers. I think the other day when I was at Goodwill, I actually saw a activity book for the year one. So these are a lot easier to come by, I feel like, because they're, you know, they've been around forever, and a lot of people use them because they are more neutral. But I think that you could probably get a whole set for Story of the World. I think each set I got for around $25. So you could get all 4 years of history for about $100. Whereas if you were to get Biblioplan even used, you're going to be running more into the $50 to $75 range. Now, it does come with a lot more components. You're probably going to be able to do a little bit of a deeper dive into history. But if you're looking something that's a little bit more cost effective, you could 100% just do this and then one of the other components, like the crafts or just the questions or even just the map work, and then kind of add in projects from Pinterest or things like that. But overall, I would say Story of the World is definitely going to be cheaper. You can also buy PDFs for both of these curriculums, and as I recall, the PDFs for Story of the World are a little bit cheaper, but I could be wrong. I'll double check that and put that right here, because I have purchased some of the PDFs to make things easier. Like, I don't have timeline book, so I just bought the PDF so we can incorporate the timeline, and so things like that. There's so many components, so it can be as inexpensive or as expensive if you want, but this is pretty much it. You could just get the reader for less than $10, and that could be your history for the year. Okay, so let's talk about the main similarities. Like I said, Biblioplan utilized Story of the World in the very beginning, but the thing that I really love about Biblioplan is that you can actually use so many different spines. So you can use the Remember the Days book, you can use the companion book for the older children, you can use different supplements. Story of the World 3 is actually one of the supplements that you can use. You can use the Usborne book, the same one that you use in Story of the World as a supplement. You can use a child's first book of American history, History of the U.S., Mystery of History, the Kingfisher book. There's just so many things that you can use as optional spines in conjunction with this. Honestly, you don't even have to. When we did Ancients, we didn't even really use Remember the Days. We just used year one of Story of the World. We are not doing that this year because I actually have been really liking Remember the Days. So, but that is an option. So if you're not super sure that you're completely ready to give up Story of the World, you can incorporate it into your Biblioplan. I like the way that they show you the literature readings, and they have it for the different grade levels. They have missionary readings that you can add in. They have family read-alouds, different writing ideas for the different grade levels. They have so many different notebooking options. You can get the hands-on Americas and Oceania notebooking pages, hands-on maps, Giants of the Faith, timelines, coloring pages, hands-on states, hands-on presidents, arts and crafts, discussion guide, the questions. You can do Veritas cards. You can do classical conversation cards. You can do audio with Jim Hodges, who actually narrates the Story of the World books. They have different movies that are listed through here. Here's the different books, Magic Treehouse books that work, Child's Story of America books, hands-on. So you can get like those Evan Moore books. I've seen the like Native American ones and things like that. They have free online books, free online videos. So it just has, you can pick and choose. It tells you what to do, but it also gives you options, which I absolutely love. And if we look in Story of the World, it also gives you options and different things to do. So it has, you can use these as supplements. You have review questions, narration questions, more review questions. excuse me, additional history, literature readings, corresponding literature, and then it's got your map work, and it's got different projects and coloring pages than you can do. But as you can see, there's even a science project for this one. But as you can see, it's just, I like the way that it's laid out better in Biblioplan. I feel like it's easier for my brain to understand. It also is going to have a lot more literature options because they are K through 12. It's just, I feel like there's a lot more options with Biblioplan. So if you're someone that likes to have different options, especially if you're working with like little kids up to high schoolers, this is going to be your best bet. Something else that I prefer in Biblioplan to Story of the World is the map work. I feel like the map work is a little bit more something your children can do independently because we just actually make copies of this book for my boys, but they can go through and use the Remember the Days book for the map work, and they just answer the questions, and it's in color and it's really nice. Whereas in Story of the World, your questions are going to be up here. So your map work is going to be whichever week you're in, and then you have to turn to the back of the book. And these books are really hard to make copies in. Like, you either have to pull them out or you have to purchase the PDFs. So here's the map work. This isn't the corresponding one, but you get the idea. So this is what the maps look like. So you're getting your information from back here, but you're doing your maps back here. So again, you either have to pull them out and make copies, or you have to buy the PDFs or whatever. Whereas these, the instructions are right here so that you can see them. The other thing that I like better about these is that they just go a little bit more in depth. This one's kind of just like circle Russia, do this, do that. Obviously, as they go up higher in the grades, they get a little bit more difficult. But I really like these because my boys can work on them independently, and I feel like they're actually being challenged, whereas these just feel like kind of like, okay, you did your map work, you can check it off. We did map work, I feel good about it. I don't know. I just feel like this is more what I'm wanting from geography. So there's that. So as far as the coloring pages, they're coloring pages, you know, they're just coloring pages. I would say, you know, they're pretty much, honestly, I think the coloring pages are a little bit nicer in here, but they're just coloring pages. As far as the crafts go, the thing that I like about the Biblioplan is, again, it gives you more options. So there are so many options. Even for the same week, there's multiple options. I usually plan so this is one that we did the other day, which they really liked. And then we also did this big Jamestown James Fort settlement one, and we just had so much fun with these. And again, there's just so many options that you could pick. I like that they come with color pictures. Honestly, I have to usually end up YouTubing how to do some of them because that's just kind of how I'm able to figure stuff out. But as far as the arts and crafts in this, I mean, it just kind of talks about it, and there's no picture. You don't really know what it's going to look like. There's only like a couple of options, which isn't like bad because, again, in here, there's usually only 2 or 3 or 4 options. So it's not like you can always go on Pinterest or things like that. But I just like these books that they give a little bit more options, but I'll plan like 6 weeks at a time, and I'll just buy what I need, get the dollar store or Walmart or wherever, and they've been pretty inexpensive. These are also fairly inexpensive projects, and my kids have always enjoyed these as well, but honestly, I think we've just had so much more fun with the crafts from Biblioplan. So that's kind of the hands-on aspect. Let's look at the questions. So these are the questions. I will say that for my kids, they tell you in the family guide to do the questions like on Fridays or the 3rd day. And I have my kids go through and, like, let's say they're reading pages like 10 through 15 that day. I'll kind of go through and mark where that day ends. And so they'll just do those questions after each reading. The questions there are a lot more in here. They also have optional questions. They'll tell you which Giant of the Faith notebooking pages to do. They have challenge questions. So I have both of my boys do the regular questions. Then I'll have my 8th grader, I'll circle a few of the challenge ones, and I might circle one for my 4th grader. But that's pretty much what they do. And again, I just make copies of these, and then that's what they do. I feel like this has really helped with their retention and comprehension. And then in these, this is more considered supposed to be like a test. They're a lot simpler. They're kind of fill in the blanks, which the other ones are, some of them are as well. Multiple choice. There's a lot of multiple choice, true or false, and then just one where you have to write it in. So, again, a lot simpler. Honestly, I think my boys would probably prefer these. I feel like it'd be a little bit less of a headache for them, but these are considered tests. So I know some people use these as more like a worksheet, things that they have their children complete every week with an open book. And I think that that would be, these are fairly comparable, definitely simpler, definitely less overwhelming. And these you may have to, I actually at first would go through and write the page numbers that they were on because my boys were so overwhelmed. But now that they've been doing it for several weeks, I kind of just mark a line where our reading ended and they just are able to find it within those few pages. So not as big of a deal, but just definitely something to consider if you do. And again, this is supposed to be 2 through 6th grade. And this is, you know, I probably wouldn't do it for a kindergartner, but it's supposed to be to like 4th, 5th, 6th grade. So again, to kind of recap, Biblioplan is obviously going to be coming from a biblical perspective. Story of the World is more neutral. I would say Story of the World is a little bit less expensive, but because of that, you're not getting as many options. There are so many options for Biblioplan, and it can actually be pretty overwhelming, and the family guide can be kind of overwhelming because it is just everything. But that's kind of what I like about it, is that it tells me, I like to be told what to do, but I like to be given options. So it will tell me what exactly I need to do. We can follow a schedule. It's great. But I also get to pick what books my kids are reading. If we want to do a movie that week, if we want to do a timeline, if we want to do arts and crafts. If you're not an arts and crafts mama, you don't have to do that. You can do other notebooking things, or you can add in your Veritas cards or your classical conversations or whatever, different audio if your child is big into auditory learning. You can do all of these things, whereas with Story of the World, it's just kind of read it, do an activity, do some map work, and maybe answer some questions, and that's it. So those are really the biggest differences and similarities between Biblioplan and Story of the World. Okay guys, I hope that that comparison was very helpful for you. Honestly, personally, I think if you can use Story of the World in conjunction with Biblioplan, it is awesome to use both of those curriculums. But if I had to pick just one, I think I would probably go with Biblioplan. It has so many options, and you can also use it all the way from kindergarten up to 12th grade. So let me know down in the comments what your thoughts are and if this video is helpful. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.